ADC-led coalition roadmap to new Nigeria. Then the number 3, which is the sad part, is over 350 killed in the ongoing genocide in Benue and Plateau states, as over 30 people were killed in Imo State. This is very disturbing statistics. We equally had the Republic of Benin has shut a border against Nigeria on grounds of the latest terrorist group who are occupied the border between Nigeria and Benin, which borders on Kwara State and Benin Republic. It is very disturbing that our allies in the West African sub-region are beginning to close their border against Nigeria, all because of government negligence and lack of effectiveness in fighting the scourge of terrorism in Nigeria. So we are starting with electoral reform today, and when we say the electoral reform, it looks somehow cumbersome. But tonight we'll be breaking it down item by item so that we can understand the demands that lies ahead of the electoral reform. Key among them is number one, the first one, which is electronic voting. The COPDEM People's Parliament is advocating for electronic voting and the rest of the other items that were listed. If votes are casted and transmitted electronically, there will be less chance of fraud. It will minimize fraud, it will minimize costs, and save time. It will give a turnout of election results in a very modest time frame, as against what we have, where election results take 2, 3, even 4 days in some instances before getting to the final collation center. It's uncalled for. During 2025, the world has gone beyond all that, and there's need to adopt technologies that can promote transparency and reduce voters' apathy. So the second item on the electoral reform is diaspora voting. We need our diaspora population votes not to be wasted. Globally, Nigerians are found in virtually all countries of the world in their numbers. But during election, their votes are not part of votes that are being counted because they have no access to votes whenever they leave the shore of this country. And with technology should be able to bridge the gap. So COPDEM People's Parliament is fully requesting for diaspora voting. You can make a voting arrangement for at least the country's capital. Take, for instance, it will be done in UK, in London, for instance. You can organize a voting center, and I believe Nigerians across all the parts of the United Kingdom would find a way to that location to be able to cast their votes, because whatever affects Nigerians at home have a ripple effect on Nigerians abroad. The third on the item is electronic verification of voters using BVAS. Recently, we heard about the INEC chairman making a case that they open up voters to persons without PVC, indirectly saying they will no more be using BVAS, because the fear of Nigerians now is that INEC have been seen to compromise in a lot of ways and not be trusted with this claim of trying to expand the gap of voting, the reach of voters under the guise of not using PVC. How can a country invest billions of naira on PVC, on BVAS? At the end of the day, you are not giving excuses that you no more want to use it without any genuine cause. Again, we're encouraging well-meaning Nigerians to stand against this, protest against this INEC new trend of not trying to go with beavers and voters having invested Nigeria's scarce resources heavily on it. Then the fourth one is electronic transmission of election results from all the polling units across the country. Yes, it's doable. The IRF technology is already there. They are not investing fresh money into any technology. The only thing is just utilization. We have to call on INEC to explore and utilize maximally the IRF technology to ensure electronic transmission of results that will hit the central database of INEC using the IRF technology in real time. There should be no excuse why votes should be hanging in the air for days, waiting from one pollution center to another pollution center is uncalled for. Straight from the polling unit, the results should be able to hit our next server so that chances of manipulation will be drastically reduced. Now move to number 5th on the item, which is the giant electronic billboard in all INEC station pollution centers and the National Pollution Center in Abuja that shall display electronic transmission of results from the polling units. Yes, this is very, very critical and very key and innovative from what we had in 2023, where the INEC chairman was busy reading from the script manually. Nigerians cannot be rest assured of the figures that are being read out on the media. So Nigerians are requesting that there should be billboard that will show how these results are trickling in, not just the INEC chairman sitting before the media and holding a paper and making that manually. Society is advancing, Nigeria as a country is advancing, and we should advance technological wise. So that being said, the next on the item is on the item of the electoral reforms. Announcement of results shall be read directly on the giant electronic billboard by the INEC chairman for transparency. Just for tracing what I've already explained, we are no more accepting a manual reading of results. Yes, the 7, the G now is no deployment of military, the police, and other security officers for election day duties, as they create panic in the minds of voters and cause apathy. Voters tend to have apathy, they tend to stay away from the election on fear of molestation or malhandling by military forces as well as the police. So on this ground, I watched a video where in Canada and other advanced countries, elections are being done swiftly without any presence of security. So why is Nigerian case different? We are calling for dismantling of all security agents to face their fundamental duty of providing security across the country and not just across polling units. With that being said, I will be proceeding to the next topic, which is
okay.
Contributions, please, on this item.
Yes. Yes, pertaining the deployment of the security to the polling units. I think in the last election, it was that they should be around and not, particularly there, apart from those who are escorting or accompanying the sensitive voting materials to the polling units, and those who are those providing security for the INEC staff themselves. And then one other school of thought, due process. Sorry, my name is Ron Palm Jr. One other school of thought is also that some people prefer, especially in volatile areas, they prefer to have at least a few security men around because of the thugs that used to ransack the place, just rush them, displace the INEC staff, pick the ballot boxes and tear. So, there's a need for a balance here to a large extent. But I think, overall, if the climate is okay, there will be no need for police protection. But then I think we may still consider the possibility or the availability of security forces close to the polling units. However, based on that, they must be given full authority to deal with people who have come to either disrupt the election in any way, whether it is attacking voters or on the line, on the queue, or attacking INEC officials, or attacking the polling boxes. If they are there, they should show us why they are there and protect the people because that's their first mandate. So that's just a little contribution I have on that side. Okay, yeah, and also for INEC, do you know 355 billion was what INEC used for election? 300 billion. Look, my brother, we're not saying million. Million is enough money for somebody to start a business. 100 million pass. Then 1,000 million is just 1 billion. 1,000 million. Now we're looking at 355 billion naira spent on election. And for Beaver specifically, it is 117 billion. How can they throw it away? Did it expire? So I think they are looking for a way of bringing in the truckload of mercenaries that were intercepted around the northeast, full of foreigners, whether it is from Mali or Songhai, or wherever, all of them having beavers. So all of them having PVCs, you know, so it means that without the use of PVC, these people would have entered and they'll just say they have come for marketing. It is the PVCs that was found in their possession that made them prime suspects, and that was how they were intercepted and returned. So I think INEC should come clean. Why should we spend over 117 billion Nigerian naira? And then you're telling us one election and the beavers is no longer attainable. What do you mean? What do you use the beavers for? So we need to have our PVCs, and if they have a real reason for removing the PVCs, let us know what other secure means there is they will be using. But we can't use 117 billion Nigerian naira and we are not using beavers to its fullest. Thank you. I think that's what I'll just add to this one, sir.
Yes, thank you. That's the voice of the National Chairman of COPDEM, Coalition for the Protection of Democracy, Mr. Rampan Jr., all the way from Plateau State. I'm glad to have you on COPDEM People's Parliament always.
It's always my pleasure, sir.
So far, the items that you are skeptical about is the one that dwelt on security. So that will be stepped down. And since you are comfortable with the rest of the item, Mr. Ramponsa.
Okay, yeah, the discussion is interesting, and I think they are very, very okay and necessary because without electoral reforms, people will not come out to vote. However, I would like to add that the first and most important reform, from my own perspective, is to give INEC its independence. Because with this, if the presidency still has the monopoly of appointing INEC, forget the National Assembly, they are just a rubber stamp. They have proved it over and over again. Look, they can quote me anywhere. This is the only National Assembly in the world that is singing on your mandate we shall stand. It is appalling. Haba. And even for the respect of other opposition parties. And most of them of the opposition party people are even singing it. So why are you there? You're supposed to be there to check the excesses of the presidency, of the executive, and now you are just an extension. You are like a bunch of personal assistants to the executive. It doesn't make sense. They are non-existent. So, no. We don't need an assembly that sings on your mandate, we shall stand. So I feel that this independence of INEC, most of the procedures are contained in Justice Mohammed Owei's outcome, the tribunal outcome, the white paper they delivered. It's beautiful that the head of INEC should come not from the presidency, but from independent, trusted organs of government and some CSOs, like the Nigerian Bar Association, maybe the Jamaat Zatul Bidiawa Kamati Sunnah or Khan, representatives from across Nigeria. They bring out an independent candidate. And the process has to be open to all Nigerians, and people will bid for it. And then they now pick, carefully interviewing them. That way, the president has no control over what that INEC chairman would do. You see, and this is the kind of chairman that will be able to implement, our electoral reforms, even as INEC has the responsibility to also suggest, things to come into its modus operandi. But with the one that is under the direct subserviency of the people in power, if PDP is in charge, they will appoint the CNJ, they will appoint everybody, and including the INEC chairman. If APC is in charge, that's what we're having. Whichever party would come, we will always have that problem. Let INEC be independent. That's one thing I would like us to push for, even as number one, if we're able to get that it will be fine. People will
Yeah,
come
if I
out
may,
to vote. Yes.
yeah, if I may comment, this is a topic I really like to really pour my mind on electoral reforms. I normally look at the body language of the president when they come in. I remember Yaradua, what he said, and we just knew from the onset that there was bound to be electoral reforms, especially when he said that the process that brought him into power was flawed. We have a president that has not much talked about it. We have a president that almost 2 years after an individual conducted a crude election, he has never attempted to say, okay, let him do something about the individual or change the individual or strengthen INEC so they can do research uh, to make the elections better. In fact, they've conducted far worse elections than the one they did in 2023. So what does this portend for us?
Exactly.
It simply means that we are just going to see a worse, we're going to see another horrible INEC conduct like a 2.0 version of a version 2.0 version of what they did in 2023. They've been no attempt to work on INEC, no attempt to change
Yeah.
the electoral umpire, no research on the beavers they use. They talked about them switching off server. They've not done any single thing. Somebody said the other day that at least there should be continuous voters election exercises. The INEC itself doesn't seem to be serious about it. Even their relationship with political parties, you see how crude political parties are. The political parties are even crumbling under their very eyes. The INEC itself is supposed to help in strengthening these political parties, but nothing seems to be happening. What I see going forward is, I think this issue of electoral reform is something that another serious government will do, but not this particular government. So we are heading for another. Let me just put it this way, like what Abacha was trying to do before his demise in around that 1998 or so. The whole thing will
Yeah.
just come back to the fact that it will just be the same person who will be in power because it will all be real. So when we say, I don't look at this government as if I don't look at this government as this government that this government is going to perform electoral reform. They've showed no signs. So when people say, we should push for electoral reform, I don't see any reason why we should do it because this government does not have the will. And when you have the will, you always have a way. This government does not have that seriousness at all to conduct electoral reform. We are just hoping and praying that some kind of miracle will happen. I don't know how to put it. But right now,
Mhm.
if Nigerians are expecting electoral reforms in this government, they should just forget it. I'm just being frank here, being frank, talking my ass out because I don't see this government as one that's going to encourage electoral reform because the playbook, what they've done in places like Edo State, when we saw the outcomes, and it's even encouraging people because they know that they now use the INEC as a tool to perpetuate themselves in power. It's not making people to even go to their own party and stay there because they feel that the power at those at the center can always will everything to you if you are on their side when it comes to being in their political party. I don't see this government as to be as the one maybe the next government but not this government at all. Electoral reform wise. No, 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 no. Not possible.
Yeah, actually,
Not possible.
Kevin, I agree with you 100%. You notice the elections we observed, local government elections we observed in different parts of the country. All of them, the
Yeah.
incumbent won all. Like the one that, even the one that happened in Kaduna State. Our people are in the INEC office, waiting, fighting since morning till about 3 to 4 p.m. They are waiting for electoral materials in the INEC office, queuing, and even got into a place of like protesting. Then they heard the governor announcing the result of, yeah, they're announcing the result on radio that the ruling party swept all the seats. Can you imagine that? Then they started laughing, like plainly, pure region. These people have not collected election materials to go to the polling
Yes,
unit.
yes.
It is 3 p.m., 4 p.m.
I think this is. I actually think INEC is in its lowest ebb in the country right now because this it has never been so bad. Yeah, now like it's not like even the president is not the electoral umpire. He's the one who announces results. So I don't just see INEC as a
Tinubu just swore in some electoral INEC commissioner. I read it on next. Breaking news.
You see? What that his job? That should be a job of an independent body. He may do the swearing in, but he is principally the one selecting them, giving the instructions, which doesn't happen anywhere in the world. The electoral umpire has to be independent and be seen to actually be independent, where they can be held accountable. Okay, what happens if INEC fails to perform? Who has the responsibility of cautioning INEC and bringing them to order? Is it the same National Assembly that are praying for INEC to swing the votes to their side? Who? All these subcommittees that have other, duties to go and supervise these organizations, will they touch INEC? They are in cahoots. So we need a better presentation, and that thing will never go well. There is also, however, a solution to it. While the executive is checked by the National Assembly, which is a total failure. National Assembly is a total failure. The Constitution of Nigeria makes it possible for the electorate to check the excesses of the National Assembly. And that the number of the National Assembly members, 109 here in the Senate, 360 in the House of Representatives, we have a total of just 461 or so, and 69 people. So you can easily buy them off, especially when you have those that don't have a conscience, even though they all go to churches and they all go to mosque. They are all bribable, so they are failed in their duties, even to their maker. So, but the people who should hold the 100 and those 469 members of the National Assembly is the people, you and I. And it's like we're just watching them and hoping they will change. So we need, if people do not realize that, we need to get these people to listen. They will not take us seriously. And I would like to propose that we move forward and put together our numbers and let COPDEM in every constituency write. When COPDEM writes the petition, all the constituencies will forward to their various House of Reps members and House of Senate members with a minimum of 400 signatories, 500 signatories for each of these letters. That is for House of Reps. Then they combine the signatories and also sign the one that is going for the Senate guy. So he knows that, okay, 1,000 people have asked you to present this electoral reform in the floor. And if you don't be surprised if we begin procedures for recalling you from representing us, because you have the duty to make sure that the electoral process is free and fair. You have the duty to check the excesses of the executive. If you are now on the mandate of the executive and that's where you're standing, then come back home and let us send one of us to go and represent us better, who will actually bring to reality the electoral reforms that we want, starting from making sure INEC is independent. I yield the mic to you, Process.
Yes, electoral reform remains the goal, and we'll see how to go around it to ensure that my voice is made very loud at the National Assembly. If individuals to present a proposal for electoral reform, I see no reason why COPDEM cannot be better. So they will hear from us in the shortest possible time, so that all the articles we've been proposing can be put together into a simplified document and be presented to the National Assembly Committee on Electoral Reform. That being said, the disturbing headline from, of course, Benue Plateau have become the regulars when it comes to genocide attack. But another disturbing part of it is over 30 killed in Imo State by related herdsmen attack. Sometimes they may call it unknown gunmen, but over 30 killed. The governor has the responsibility, he has a duty. And the same goes for example, where a school teacher was killed and unaccounted number of persons, school pupils, were kidnapped, all in Nigeria. As I speak, the Benin Republic has shut down her borders against Nigeria, particularly in the Kwara axis, because of the disturbing news of Mahmuda terrorist group. This is becoming disturbing and unbearable that Nigeria, all we are known for now is terrorism. Where did this come from? I watched a video where the young man was explaining how the terrorist group Mahmuda gets their logistics. They get it through helicopter supply. So what's happening? Will the government claim ignorance of not being aware of trooper that is moving around for this logistic? We are trapped in Nigeria and we need to speak up. If we cannot easily raise our hands and get a weapon to defend ourselves, then we should be able to speak out. We should be able to rant. We cannot afford to keep quiet because silence at this point is death sentence to all Nigerians. So we are encouraging Nigerians to use the COPDEM People's Parliament to speak up. Through social media, speak up. Let the world be aware of the predicament of Nigerians. As it is now, nobody is safe. Those that were shot sporadically, could be you, could be me, could be anyone. So security anywhere is security everywhere. Like I've always said on this program, we must take our security very seriously. I want to see a Nigeria where Nigerian masses will troop up the streets in protest for government failure over security particularly, because these are human lives that are being wasted on a daily basis. Yet the government is not even saying a word. As a matter of fact, the mainstream media will not even make it a headline. The question is, who is next? Mr. Farm, you want to add your voice to it? Mr. Farm,
well, Yes, yes, it is. It is appalling. It is now like a national anthem. I don't know if it's because our military are incompetent now of addressing the security issues. The same military that was heading ECOMOC and suppressing terrorism and wars in neighboring African countries successfully. Have those old, brave Nigerian soldiers retired from service? Or why is it that we are facing this kind of quagmire? ECOMOG was the force to reckon with, and Nigeria was at the lead. So it is either Abacha being the number one citizen, knows the efficacy and the potency of the Nigerian army, the resilience of our men and officers of our forces, that he said any revolt, any terrorist act that lasts longer than 24 hours, then the government's hand is inside it. Honestly, it's like that is what we are feeling. It's like that is what is happening. Is the government complicit because they are part of the security challenges? Is the government complicit because of the mineral resources in mostly these security reading areas? With Signature TV, I had an interview, and Chief Nwabweze was very emphatic. The anchor. He said the gold in Zamfara and two other states are enough from Nigeria to put South Africa out of the gold market. And that is where, look at Niger, look at Zamfara. That is where the wealth is. How much is gold? And gold never depreciates in value. You cannot devalue gold currency, gold as a currency. No. And we have it in abundance. The other time I saw an airstrip in Kogi State, next to a construction that looks like a mining site, a refining, just a couple of company buildings with an airstrip in a bush in Kogi. What are they doing there? Is the government unaware? The government cannot be unaware because the land within every state is under the jurisdiction of the state governor. So the government cannot claim they don't know. Is that where they are pilfering the resources of Nigeria and sending it outside? That is why insecurity is pervasive in some of these states. Recall when the aeroplane of the Nigerian Air Force was shot down by terrorists in Niger State. The governor said he will mediate, he will bring out that the Nigerian Air Force should not retaliate. How does he meet them?
Mr. Khan, to add to that, that particular place where the terrorists shot down the plane of the Nigerian Army is actually Shiro local government. And Shiro local government is saturated with gold. The same goes for Rafi local government, saturated with gold. And these are the two main local governments that are under the infestation of terrorists. They've taken over and they have chased their ancestral people away from their ancestral land. So all this bound down to resources that are available in these communities. It's not just ordinary. Yes, the government have a very credible intelligence on what is going on. And if they are really interested in security of lives and property, it's something they can stop in less than 48 hours. But of course, the lives of average Nigerians was nothing to them. As a matter of fact, they consider, some people have said over time that the life of a cow is worth much more in the eyes of Nigerian politicians than the life of a human being, because they see us like chicken. During election, they just throw forth some rice Indomie, spaghetti, and we campaign for them for the next 4 years of slavery, next 4 years of genocide, next four years
If I
of
may comment,
yeah, comment,
if I may
yes.
comment, I may comment a bit the process. You know, the most painful thing is not even the presidency. The most painful thing is that the people who are supposed to um, effect these electoral reforms, the National Assembly, are just there for like they are just there ceremonial, like people will say for decoration. In other words, they are just there as if I don't know if people saw the trending video of someone they said in the National Assembly was kissing a woman in his office. And somebody posted, I don't know whether you see it. I just hope that story is not true. You just have people who are in the National Assembly who are just warming benches, who are chasing after unnecessary things. People you expect to go for electoral reforms, but because these electoral reforms favor them, they will never do anything about it. Like Peter Obi said in the conference in UK day before yesterday or so, day before yesterday or so. He said if you are corrupt, then you cannot remove corruption. You cannot eliminate corruption now. But if you are not corrupt, then you can. It's not, if you are corrupt, you cannot dismantle corruption. But if you are
Hmm.
incorrupt, then you can't dismantle corruption. That is just the plain truth. So that's why I don't. In fact, we just pray we get a leader like a leader that has that passion, like Pio, for instance. That's the first step we will need to dismantle this whole thing, dismantle corruption, establish electoral reform, and change the course of the Nigerian politics. That's just what I have to say. Thank you.
That's very well
Yeah,
said. Stefan.
yeah. Honestly, Kevin, you're right. And it will take uh, the same energy and the same leadership will to combat security. For us around the Middle Belt is 20 years now. 20 years and still counting. When will they stop? And the military is adopting, like this, we see on TV that they are adopting kinetic and non kinetic approach. That these terrorists are not regular combatants. I mean, they are not using, confrontation like coming out openly for war. They are adopting guerrilla warfare, and it is more complex than, direct confrontation. Yeah, but when we went to Liberia for the issue of that country's stability, they were adopting guerrilla warfare too. And yet, ECOMOG was able to squash the opposition and uh, played a very pivotal role in the sanity of Liberia. What stops them from doing in their own motherland when their friends, their brothers, their children, their relatives are killed almost daily? It's only that most of it is not reported. So they are adopting kinetic. Kinetic is face-to-face war, or you go around, locate the people and neutralize. But then they are now going for non-kinetic, which is the non-use of violence or lethal force, to combat people who are killing mercilessly
Stefan,
children and pregnant women. How do they want to go about it? And they to get them to a facility, begin to train them, and they say the first thing maybe is to de-radicalize them. That some of them were given the wrong notion of Islam, and so they get some non-radical Islamic scholars to recorrect their thinking. After that, they do another step. They train them into arts, crafts, and other things, and then they take them back to the society. Well, I think they call it reintegration, somewhere that these terrorists can now be regular people again after killing hundreds and thousands of innocent people that were not even armed, children sleeping, market women planting in their farm or going to weed with children in their back, shooting the woman in the head and shooting the child. What? How can you de-radicalize such a person? Who does that? And yet we want results. And after that, if they are not brought back to like go into business, they can even choose a state of their choice if they don't want to go back to the places where they killed, where the children of those people know that they are the ones who committed it. Then they move them to a different state. If the crime happened in Sokoto, they can bring them to Bauchi. It happens in Maiduguri. They can take them to Kwara or Plateau State and resettle them as new people. Is that not spreading terrorism with government funds? One. Is that not rewarding them for killing people? Who offended them for goodness sake? Nobody. So I think that non-kinetic thing is not the way to go. It is a waste and a dubious use of government resources. Pardon my language, but I don't have a better language for it. That money, instead of you wasting it on people killing, why don't you use that money to go to places where these people have been killed, like the over 40 communities to 60 communities in Plateau State? They have removed the people there and they are now living in those lands. Why don't you, if you want to know who is killing, go to the land where the people were staying before and see who is occupying their houses and their farms and ask them and start from there. Use that money to clear the place and put back the people who were in that ancestral land back in their homes. Then you can now ask these people that were there where they got their arms from. The government, no. Why are they not doing anything? Use it to take care of IDPs. I'm telling you as we speak today, our IDP camps do not receive any assistance from government. If they do, then it's not reaching the IDP camps. How is their monitoring and evaluation? Where are the key performance indicators for those in charge of taking care of the IDPs? Were these people born so that they will be killed and taken to primary schools or some makeshift places to be bundled where they cannot fend for themselves, where they don't have their farms to go and farm? Your responsibility is to the weaker party. Who is the weaker party here? The one with the gun or the one that whose family has been exterminated and is sitting in an IDP camp, begging in the street of Otupo or in Makodi or somewhere in Tafawa Balewa Street in Jos or in Abuja? What are we talking about? They shouldn't use money on terrorism. They should either utilize them or keep them until the people repent on their own. Then use that money to relocate IDPs back to their ancestral homes. That is what you do when you combat security. So they should declare a state of emergency, enter all these forests, and be the Nigerian military and take care of the situation and make sure there is no terrorism, or else we don't have security in Nigeria. Thank you. I yield the mic. Due process.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Pan, Junior. You've nailed it all. In order to buttress it further, I watched a video where Senator, probably in the Senate chamber committee stage, they were discussing about terrorism in Nigeria and how Nigerians have been labeling the Senate for not taking proactive action, for not checking the executive. The man was like, the senator, they can only call the Senate, the executive to do the right thing, but they cannot force them to do the right thing. That they understand the loopholes where it all started. That during President Goodluck Jonathan, he brought in, he hired missionaries to come to the aid of Nigeria, and those missionaries arrived. There were about 30 in a very small location. They utilize technology to sample where the terrorists are camped, and they take chopper there and ensure that they're able to finish the terrorists. And it was achieving results massively until the same northern people said the death rate was too high and that they should go. And that is how the terrorism has continued until today. So he was so emphatic. He's a northern senator and was pointing the accused finger on the north. So in order to conclude on this matter, for terrorism to end in Nigeria, the North have a huge role to play because they seem to accommodate the terrorists as brothers. Because even the former president, Muhammadu Buhari, said the terrorists are his misguided brothers. It's very appalling and surprising that a sitting president will call terrorists his misguided brother. What does he mean by that? Recently, just 2 weeks ago, the military are saying that the Fulanis from Chad and other countries that they are not speaking the Nigerian Fulani version. I mean, what does all this have to do with providing security? When you see a non-state actor, terrorist, Fulani herdsmen moving around with rifle, the number one thing expected of the Nigerian security is to open fire if you feel your life is not safe in confronting them. And if it's safe, you apprehend them and take them to the court of law. So why should the military be interested in the language a particular terrorist group is speaking or otherwise? They are expected to do their job. So the Nigerian military has failed, the immigration has failed, they are all at the borders. What are they doing there? So on this note, we are calling on the Nigerian government to wake up to our responsibility and do the right thing. As it is in Nigeria today, nobody is safe. Whether you are in metropolis or you are in the villages, communities, everywhere, no one is safe, and nobody knows who is next. It will be you, it will be me. So if we fail to speak, we are all victims waiting to happen. We must collectively condemn the insecurity, collectively condemn this genocide that's going on in the Middle Belt and in virtually all other parts of the country. Enough is enough, and we cannot afford to sit back and pretend that all is well. All is not well in Nigeria. There is no security anywhere. As a matter of fact, even Abuja is not secured. Anything can happen. We have a number of cases of people that have been kidnapped and killed without the government moving a muscle. It has become a norm that hundreds and thousands of people will die in Nigeria, and the president will not even stand up to even address the situation. This is condemnable. This is a crime against humanity. We saw what happened in Congo? Yeah, where their president, no, Gabonese president, the young man, when there was a flood in his country, he visited the scene of the flood. He showed support to his people. That is leadership. This is the least, the barest minimum we're expecting from the government of the day. And if they cannot serve it, they should quit. There's nothing wrong if you intend to carry out the task and you're unable to do it, to resign. All over the streets of Abuja, we are seeing Tinubu's poster up and down. Investors coming into Nigeria, these are the only pictures they'll be seeing along the road of airports and virtually all parts of Abuja.
Yeah, let me add to what you just said. Let me add what you said. Not this government. This government is not even learning from history. That's what hurts me the most. They're not learning from what is going on. In the past, we've had coup and civilian governments have been overthrown. Why? Things like this. You abandoned the primary reason why you were called or elected to govern a state and through party and just act as if nothing is happening. The most popular president in Africa right now is not a civilian president that has been elected. It's a military president who is governing Burkina Faso. So the fact that other parts of the world are support of him, they are not learning from history. You are given a job to do. The first and most important job is protection of life and property. You are not doing that. You are jumping from there to there. Commissioners are just acting as if you are in a party. You understand? And if you don't learn from history, history is likely to repeat itself. I know as if it seems as if it's not like it seems that it will not happen. It's likely to repeat itself. Burkina Faso has had these things like this before, and they've had their civilian president back. And look at what happened again. They don't seem to have learned from history. There's a way, and there's what they call a hard reset in the system. I think it's everywhere. It's something that happens naturally. If you don't do something about it and you continue, the country will implode. In Rwanda, it was genocide. In some other countries, we're having coups. In some other countries, we're having what we call the countries being organized, warlords coming up from everywhere. Look at Somalia. Understand? We need to sit down and make these people to sit up and begin to take the issue of governance seriously, because they don't, if they are ready to do that, they just want to be thinking of only themselves and just themselves alone. It's surprising me that the president of Burkina Faso is the kind of person that people are really looking up to in Africa. Many people are just tired of status quo. What help us?
Yes, you have become a role model for African leadership. Take it or leave it. Burkina Faso president, globally, you acknowledged for doing well for his people. So leadership is as simple as that. Some people will say governance is not easy. Those that are finding it easy, they are not magicians. They are rather carrying out the will of the people. It's as simple as that. And they are achieving results. So on this note, we'll be wrapping up today's episode. And we look forward to having you tomorrow for yet another exclusive session of the COPDEM People's Parliament. Viewers, thank you for being part of the program. See you tomorrow, and goodbye.
Good night.